On April 3rd, 6-year-old Adrian, 10-year-old Yadira, and 12-year-old Adriana Ramirez sat on a bench in front of a church in Palo Alto in front of community members and news media to make one final request that they be allowed to stay here in the U.S. The family's parents, Pedro and Isabel, were picked up in an ICE raid in late February. Pedro has already been deported back to Mexico. ICE has told the family that the children can either voluntarily go back to Mexico to be with their father, or they'll be sent into foster care. Despite the fact that the children are U.S. citizens, the family has decided to go back to Mexico so they could stay united as a family. On this day, just 3 days before their voluntary deportation date, the Ramirez family brought together supporters to talk about the impact of their case on their families as well as the broader community.
Stay here?
Can you just say that one time really loud, because I think that's what you want to say.
You want to be able to stay here instead of go over there?
What would you say to another young person that maybe is in your shoes, that is facing the same thing?
To stay strong. Care about your family. She's still worried. She's scared about them.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Chris Schultz. I'm Pedro's math teacher at Gunn High School, and I've been working with him this whole year. And the last couple weeks have been particularly hard. It's just been a really emotional, stirring event. Him coming into class saying his dad was taken, and not knowing what's going to happen to him and his family, and his mom now wearing a bracelet. She's being tracked where she goes. She's not supposed to leave the house. It's been really difficult.
And as a young kid, and what's he been like?
Yeah, well, you know, usually he's just a lot of fun to have in class. He's sociable, you know, he cracks jokes, he does his work, and he's a great person to have in class. And after he came in, you know, he was crying. For most days after that, it's been impossible for him to focus. And I can understand, you know, he'll just sit at his desk looking at his work, and you know, everything else is just going through his mind about what's happening. And so it's, and I feel bad, you know. So I've talked with Pedro outside of class and tried to support him any way I can. Most students didn't quite know at first, but everyone sort of found out as the weeks were going on. And everyone's sort of just in shock, you know. How could they be taking Pedro? He's been going to school here forever. He's a citizen. Well, you know, Pedro's volunteering to leave now with his family, but it's just shocking for everyone. And it's also I think it feels unstable also for those students who are of Latin descent at the school, and to hear that this is something that happened to a family of Latin descent in the area in Palo Alto, it just sort of it shakes everyone up, especially those people from Latin families. So so for the other people in our class who were of Latin descent, we took those people along with Pedro and just had a little talk with all of them and talked about how they were feeling about this, and we wanted them particularly to be able to express themselves together. Yeah, when we talked with the Latin students, most of them expressed some fear about going to school or going to classes that you know whatever their status might be, just by virtue of being Latin, some of them feel frightened at this point. And all I can do in that situation is tell them that I support them, and that this is a safe place for you, and I don't want you to be afraid on campus. And I've heard that there have been raids in other cities, but I didn't. You don't think about it until it comes to your city, and I never would have thought they would come to Palo Alto to do raids. It just, I don't know why I did, but I just don't imagine it.
One word description I would have for that is chilling. It's a very chilling effect, and I've seen it happen in different communities where I've lived, that it's a problem because people are afraid to go out, they're afraid to send their kids to school, they're afraid to go to the store, so everybody's living terrified, and I just don't think it's a good use of resources. Well, it is a political football. It's like, ICE just got all this money from the Department of Homeland Security, so they have to prove that they deserve all that money. So, they can trot out these raids that they've done, and people are getting very upset about it. You have it going on the East Coast and you have it going on here. So yes, people are being used as political footballs. I suspect an increase in raids, but I also think that it's going to be tempered somewhat by however the dialogue goes in Washington, D.C. So if it looks like there's actually a movement generated to deal with comprehensive immigration reform, I think that things could change. Or, it could be, the Bush administration sticking a thumb in everybody's eye saying, I'm the decider.
Yeah.
So, I think to me it's like whether we can temper those conversations and stop dehumanizing immigrants can change the dialogue.
The thing I want to say is this is just ridiculous. It's not just. And laws are supposed to be created to serve justice, and this is the most unjust thing you could possibly do, is to take some kids away from their parents. Yeah, it's affected my family. I don't want to get too deep into it because, there's people in my family, in my extended family, who, they've lost their parents, because, the father got deported and sent away and he can't come back. It's wrong. And there's a lot of kids, some of my students and kids that I work with, whose, families have been sent away and they have to go to Mexico to be with their parents. I don't say several, but I know of a few Tongan families, where the parents have been deported, kids have been deported, they have some, run-in with the law, as is not hard to happen in East Palo Alto, and the kids just get deported, And I know of several Latino families where parents have been deported. It's wrong. It's wrong. And it's something that we're doing, in response to 9/11 and to all the elections coming up, politicians are trying to make themselves look better, and it's just wrong. And I know that in our community that we're really trying to protect our undocumented families. The city council, I don't know if they passed it already, but I know that they were considering a resolution to call East Palo Alto a safe haven. And our police force doesn't support this. The East Palo Alto police, to my knowledge, does not support this. And so for people to come from outside the community and start to harass our residents, and the Latino community is the backbone of East Palo Alto. They're the majority in the community. They're productive. They've done a lot. My family's been in East Palo Alto for 60 plus years, and I've seen the community change. I've seen it go from, a predominantly African American community to a predominantly Latino community. And they're stabilizing influence. They buy homes, they raise their children well, so the families remain intact. It's wrong. This is wrong.
This family, just I learned, like you said, Sunday, that they're going to be deported this Friday. And the father was detained and deported on 28th of February within an hour notice. He was not even able to cash his check. So by not allowing him to cash his check, we made him homeless and penniless within an hour and threw him out. And this family has been struggling, and the mother had to be under house arrest, which means she couldn't work. So a lot of the community members, the school people and the community members faith community has been helping them dealing with, day-to-day life. Because who could afford to have a lot of savings here with 4 kids in Palo Alto with the jobs that they're doing? So, with the contribution from the community, they have been able to buy the tickets, plane tickets to go back home. But we are appealing to all of our, Congress and our, faith group people and to our president that let this family stay, let their father back in. So just, have a humane system here. And these people are not criminals. They're not hurting anybody. They are earning their money, they're supporting America's economy, and they're spending that money here too. So I'm not saying just, open our borders for the criminals and all that. I'm against that. But at the same time, that, these people are not criminals. They are not the problems. They're only symptoms of our broken system. So, we're just appealing to fix our broken system, and people who have been working without any problem contributing to our economy, let them stay.
And so there's a meeting this morning with ICE.
Yes, they had a meeting with them. 2 of our members from the Multi-Faith Forces for Peace and Justice went with them, and a reporter from Gloria went with them. So they had a support system.
And what was the result of the meeting?
The result was that ICE wanted them to say, it's okay, you can go by car. Before they were just told they cannot go by car. They have to go by plane. But it's too late, they already bought the tickets. They were supposed to show their tickets tomorrow. So how can you just tell them now, that...
So that was the big negotiation.
That was the big negotiation, saying, we really felt like, soft-hearted, and we are going to allow you to just drive by rather than fly. Too late.
And the sort of deportation date is still this Friday.
Yes, as far as I remember. I would like to see if, as a result of this press conference, we may have, somebody step in and say, hey, here's how we can help. Isabel still is talking to attorneys, so I don't know what's happening.
Has there been any Congress people or political figures that look like they might be...
Well, and Aishu's office said that they have been trying to call ICE and they're trying to work with them. But
Aishu's office?
West, yeah, because they're constitution and they're constituents of our district.
Thanks, Samina. Appreciate it. It's always good to see you.